At the winter meetings, a lot of conversations around the Baltimore Orioles surfaced, involving Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, and their future team. And one MLB agent came out in the public and had something interesting to say. Welcome to Orioles Digest. I'm your host, Kam Brice. And before you do anything, drop that subscribe button and come join the family. Now, winter meetings was something special. A lot of trades, a lot of free agent signings happened. But the MLB offseason is still not over. And the Baltimore Orioles are looking for that free agent pitcher. And one agent said something that a lot of fans would love to hear. At the winter meetings, when asked by reporters about his current relationship with Mike Elias, Scott Boras had this to say, and I quote, "We've been in very close contact with Mike Elias, talking to him regularly. He's made it very clear that under this ownership, they're going to take the steps forward that they haven't taken in the past." Now, this is something every Orioles fan was waiting to hear. David Rubenstein and Mike Elias are changing the perception of this franchise. They're moving in a different direction that John Angelos did. We saw he let go of Manny Machado, let Adam Jones go, let Matt Wieters go, let Mark Turnbull go, let Nelson Cruz go. So many talented players that the Baltimore Orioles did not lock up to control their future and win the World Series championship was affected by the ownership. Now, David Rubenstein is trying to change that perception. So is he going to extend Gunnar Henderson? Is he going to extend Adley Rutschman? We just have to wait. But I think the future is going to be special. And we just have to stay patient. David Rubenstein and Mike Elias are cooking. So that brings me into my next topic. What does the future hold for the Baltimore Orioles? And what does this mean for Mike Elias and Brandon Hyde? Now I want to talk a little bit about Brandon Hyde and Mike Elias and why the future for them is already set. Now, Brandon Hyde started with the Baltimore Orioles with one of the worst rosters, but every single year we've seen this roster increase, get a little better time and time, and that's because of his production as a manager. Guys love playing with him. We even seen Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman come out in the media when Hyde's been scrutinized over his late game calls. We love Brandon Hyde. We're going to keep playing. We're going to fight for him. We want to win the World Series because that's the guy that we want leading us. And Mike Elias has said the same thing. There's a reason why all the hitting coaches and pitching coaches got fired this past offseason, and Brandon Hyde stayed because he is the right guy. And he's a guy that Mike Elias believes in. And for Mike Elias, he's still one of the best GMs in the MLB. When he came over from the Houston Astros, he changed the whole aspect of this franchise. And that's something a lot of people cannot forget about. What he is doing for this team, building draft capital, going out and get trades, being involved in free agency. Mike Elias is trying to do everything he can do to make this team the next big thing. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take months. It might take years. But Mike Elias is trying. And I know a lot of people are scrutinizing him about not signing free agents. A lot of Yankees players, a lot of Mets players, they're going to different directions and they're not coming to the Baltimore Orioles. That's not the Orioles' fault. They're trying to change the perception of this franchise. We've never seen Scott Boras come out in the public, like I've said before, giving positive news about the Baltimore Orioles. And now that he's been in close talks with Mike Elias, we can see a lot of things coming soon for this team. And that gets me on to my next topic. Player extensions. Could we see the Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman extension coming soon? Adley Rutschman has been a generational superstar. When he debuted for the Baltimore Orioles, everything changed. He changed the whole complexion of this city and this franchise. He's been the main focal point ever since, even before Gunnar Henderson. And I know a lot of people want to talk about his numbers last year, but it honestly wasn't that bad. He hit 19 home runs, had 79 RBIs, had over 140 hits, and even though his average on base percentage and slugging was down, that was mostly because he struggled at the end of the season. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, he dealt with injuries. He wasn't that good last season. He's not a top 5 catcher anymore. Adley Rutschman is a generational star. We just have to trust in the process. I expect Adley Rutschman to come back next season and be even better than ever was. He's going to continue to be better. And now the contract extension for him is probably going to look like something around 5 to 6 years, well over $200 million. That's something that the Baltimore Orioles can afford. Like Mike Elias and David Rubenstein has said, they're willing to spend the money. It's going to be a key important part because Adley Rutschman is not signed to Scott Boras. So they have no ties in that direction. They can work a contract extension out on their own. Him and Gunnar Henderson's contract extension, they won't collaborate together and they won't have nothing to do with each other. But the important decision is, who are you going to sign first? Is Adley Rutschman or Gunnar Henderson? Gunnar Henderson is a generational superstar. He had 37 home runs last year, 97 RBIs, over 160 hits for a shortstop who played every single game. If the Orioles sign Gunnar Henderson to extension right now, it's going to be 6 to 8 years, well over $350 million. Now, what they don't want to do is wait until he hits the open market. Because once Gunnar Henderson hits the open market, it's going to be the same exact situation as Juan Soto. We saw Juan Soto get one of the biggest contracts in MLB history, and that was possibly because of his play. When Juan Soto came into the league, he was only 20 years old, and he still was one of the best players in the MLB. Now, at 25 years old, we saw him get a $500 million contract. We should expect the same thing from Gunnar Henderson once he hits the free agent market, but the Orioles cannot make that mistake. They cannot let Gunnar Henderson hit the free agent market. You have to sign this guy now. You have to look in the future like David Rubenstein and Mike Elias have said. You have to build now. You have guys like Jordan Westburg, Jackson Holliday, Kobe Mayo, Grayson Rodriguez. All of these guys are going to need extensions in the next couple of years. So, what do? Gunnar Henderson extension or Adley Rutschman extension first? Like I said earlier before, I take a Gunnar Henderson extension. But if you can get Adley Rutschman to a 6-7 year extension, a little bit under $300 million, that's perfect. And then get Gunnar Henderson the next season. But these are two guys that you have to lock up. And going back to Scott Boras' comments, I really believe this is a new day in the franchise. I really believe something else is going to change. I actually think that the Baltimore Orioles are building a championship team. A lot of free agent signings aren't happening right now. And the Orioles are still in a position to sign Corbin Burnes, but there's recent reports that they're not that open to, and they're looking at guys like Sean Manaea and Dylan Cease. They missed out on Max Fried. They missed out on Blake Snell. They missed out on a lot of guys. So for Mike Elias, it's time for him and his team to get very aggressive. The free agency is heating up, and we're almost at the midway point of the offseason, and we can't afford to lose any more people. If we could bring Corbin Burnes back, I would love that. Give him a contract. 6 years, $250 million. That is well enough. But we all know Scott Boras and his clients love to wait things out. We just have to see when the best time is going to be. And I hope he's not a Toronto Blue Jay. Because if he's a Toronto Blue Jay, that's going to cause so much chaos. Well, that's all we have for today, folks. Like I said before, subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss any news that we have on the Baltimore Orioles Digest. We upload daily videos, trades, free agent signings, special news, anything that you need to hear, any Orioles content that you want to hear. Subscribe to the channel below and come join the family.